Hey everybody, my name is Paul John Rudoi and I'm a composer of choral and vocal works primarily. I'm so excited that you're doing a Minnesota Varsity with ACF, and I have to say the last time that I created one of these videos, I was just enthralled with Tormis and other Estonian and Latvian and Lithuanian composers. While I'm still excited about that, um, I also just have to say that there's a whole big world out there. And as you continue to think about how you're going to set these texts that you're given, or texts that you decide on later on in life, um, continue to think about them from the context of who you are. I think to imitate composers is a wonderful thing, but the best thing you can do is think about it from who you are and how you would speak and how you would sing things, right? So my tendency, the way that I work usually, is to start with a text and underline specific phrase groupings or specific stressed or unstressed syllables that I want to bring out. Usually I find out that there are certain vowels that are the focus at that time. And I often think about the form of the poem to consider what textures I want to use or what the overall form of the piece will be. And I often shy away from traditional forms, even though sometimes some of my pieces do have traditional forms, but instead of ABACA type thing, I'll just go with whatever the text shows me. So there's a tendency for maybe one section to be a lot longer because I want to expand that text, versus the beginning or the end might be really short. Because really what we're dealing with is if you go with your gut and your instinct and your heart when you're writing, just because the pacing is unique and not something that you're used to in other pieces doesn't mean that it's any less valuable. An ending or a beginning that can start really short or end really short and a large section in the middle, or the opposite, maybe the middle is the meat and it's the shortest part of the piece, it doesn't mean that it's any less meaningful. I would say go with your gut, feel out the text as if you were a poet, and then start to add that music into it. And I would say in terms of textures, aim for a variety of textures. You know, don't be afraid of the unison. Choirs love unison. Or really thick chords. Don't go overboard. If you're working for a high school choir, you don't need probably more than 4 or 5 notes in a chord. And then I would also encourage you to sing through every line, because I know, as one of those inner parts, as a tenor or an alto, the tendency is to have weird lines that are really hard to sing because they fill in a texture between the basses and the sopranos, who are usually on the melody. What you're left with are some voice leading issues. And I would encourage you to think, okay, what if I was higher, if I'm a tenor, what if the tenors were higher than the altos? Or what if the basses had a moment all their own and then everybody else came in and responded to it, right? These are textural choices that you can make based on the text, based on the narrative that you're trying to get across. I think I guess in closing, the most important thing I could give you as a recommendation from my experience is that the pieces that I feel are mediocre in my catalog or worse are those when I didn't start thinking about how the music relates to the narrative. The message is the most important thing, right? Otherwise, why would we even have words? And text painting is fine, but if text painting equals some sort of meaningful, moving thing with your audiences and your ensembles, then that's all. You couldn't ask for something better. So excited that you're working with ACF and Minnesota Varsity, and I'm excited to hear your music very soon. See you later.